we are thrilled that the Affordable Connectivity Program exists. This is kind of unprecedented because it is such a widely available resource for us to be able to help more and more people access affordable internet and robust broadband internet in their homes. So I'm very grateful to be with you all today. As Jeff said, I'm Casey Miller. I'm with the Enterprise Center and Tech Goes Home. And our mission is to connect people, organizations, and technology so that we can work to eliminate the digital divide. And I'll let my colleague Mikey here tell you a little bit more about Tech Goes Home specifically. But if all of our panelists could introduce who you are, tell us who you are, and then tell us a little bit about your organization.
Hello, I'm Micah Chapman, also known as Mikey. Some people call me Mikey, depends on how you read it. It's fine. I'm the connectivity ambassador at Tech Goes Home. My job is to enroll people into ACP and also other affordable connectivity options. Give you a little bit of background on Tech Goes Home. Even though we're in the gig city and it's very broad with all the internet and flash bells and whistles that you hear about in Chattanooga, we still have a lot of our constituents and neighbors who aren't connected to internet. So to give you a bit of overview, there's a lot of populations that deal with single parent households. So it's kind of harder for single parent adults to make ends meet and be able to afford internet or have that luxury to have internet service and pay their utility bills on time as well. So Tech Goes Home hired me specifically to enroll people into ACP and other affordable connectivity options.
I'm Fred Johnson. I'm the CEO of Farmers Telecommunications, which is a 70-year-old telecommunications cooperative that essentially serves the greater parts of Jackson, DeKalb, and portion of Marshall County, Alabama. Basically everything east and south of the Tennessee River to the Georgia and Tennessee line. We're a legacy telecom provider, but obviously our broadband is our business today. And we provide 100% of our services across a multi-gig capable, fully 100% optical fiber to the premise network. We're kind of proud of that. We were the first provider in Alabama to deploy a widely adopted gig capable ISP platform. Long history of being very much involved in our communities and supportive of efforts just like you're gathered here today to talk about. So thank you for letting me be with you. Pleasure.
Hi, I'm really happy to be here. My name is Janet Sullivan. I'm the Volunteer Services Coordinator for Southeast Tennessee Area Agency on Aging and Disability, which is actually a division of Southeast Tennessee Development District. And so our mission is to serve, advocate, and plan with older adults to help them to stay in their homes longer with dignity, choices, and quality of life. And so the Affordable Connectivity Program really fits well into our mission, and I'm just really happy to be here. So thank you.
Thank you all. And all of you out there, you are affiliated, you're invested in internet connectivity in some way. You understand the need, the importance, but I did want to hear from our panelists here, on the ground in Mikey and Janet's case, and then also from an internet service provider's perspective. Why invest in ACP? What are you seeing in terms of the need of the community for an affordable internet resource that's widely available? And Mikey, if you want to start off, you mentioned single parent households. Who else are you seeing that could really benefit from internet access at home?
As she stated, I can see senior citizens. I deal with a lot of senior citizens that's within my church, within the community. Also, tech coach at Tech Goes Home, where we train people, and I've taught a class from Miss Janet before. So I definitely see senior citizens fit within this. I also see families who have kids that are in school benefiting from this, even though they might not be single parents, but I can see couples benefiting from it as a supplemental opportunity. So those people in my community are connected to us.
And Janet, of course, you work with older adults, but you work across several county, 10 county footprints. So what are you seeing outside outside of Hamilton County in terms of the need for affordable internet.
Yes, and we work really closely with the senior centers within a 10-county Southeast Tennessee area. And most of our counties are actually in a rural area. And so what we found through these classes that we've been having and through the senior centers who know their seniors very well, a lot of people may be living on a ridge or a mountain, and so they do not have internet access. And nor do they have the tools or the training to really use the internet access. So a lot of times what this did is it prompted more social isolation, as well as the pandemic, which even crystallized it even more so. So we saw the greater need in terms of providing the tools, the devices, the access, connectivity, so that people can actually learn, but also be able to bring the world into their homes. And so more and more people have been so thankful for the collaborations that we've had with the senior centers, with Tech Goes Home, with the Enterprise Center, to be able to bring the internet connectivity into their homes.
And Southeast AAAD, you all weren't initially in the business of internet connectivity, but you saw the need and were willing to make organizational investments and changes to meet that need.
Oh, absolutely. And a lot of our seniors are on fixed low income, and so this was really important to them. And by enrolling them in the classes that we had at the senior centers, because they are very trusted, a very well-known entity within the counties, and they're also an opportunity for people to get together, to collaborate, to learn, and to really enjoy the process of learning, quite frankly, a very overwhelming tool in terms of many of our seniors had never touched a computer before. A lot of them, if they had a phone, it was a flip phone. And so they were way behind, and we noticed and we identified the lag of technology and how it was really negatively impacting this population. And it was actually impacting them in their physical, mental, and in social well-being.
And Fred, why go through the process of enrolling your Farmers Telecommunications services as an ACT provider?
I wondered how I was going to actually respond to that question when I thought the spot. So I'm going to say this while I would, and permit me for just a moment. I've gotten to the point where I enjoy being the old guy in the room. My career in rural electrification, rural telecommunications spans 40 years. On the day I entered the job, believe it or not, long distance telephone service was still considered a luxury. So much so that it was subject to the federal luxury tax. It was 40 years ago. That's how dramatically things have changed. And we've just now come face to face with the reality that connectivity, and that's the way I like to refer to it, connectivity, which has to be broadband connectivity, is essential as just about anything else. Now, maybe if you make a choose between that and running water, we've got a debate going on. But it's at that level, and the pandemic is just what has made that clear. It's the slap in the face that got us awake, fully awake, and made us realize that. Well, let's cut to the chase. It's real easy to forget unless you're just a sensitive human being or you care. If you do either one of them, you're either sensitive, you care, or you're just plain observant. You got to realize that $30 a month is a big deal to most people, frankly, in urban America and rural America. And the reality of it is, especially in the area that we serve, both this program, its predecessor, the Emergency Broadband Benefit Program, and in Alabama during the pandemic, we had for a limited time a student connectivity program, which was $50 a month, a voucher. Those had a meaningful impact. I mean, we enrolled almost 1,200 kids within a few weeks in that state program, and saw broadband adoption, 10% year-over-year increases that would not have been the case had it not been obvious that people had to have that connectivity. What we just fail to realize at some points in time is that when you're dealing with counties who have median household incomes of in the $30,000 range, half the people are making less than $30,000 a year. They're at the poverty level. And the reality of it is, and it doesn't, young people, senior citizens, $30 a month, as hard as that is for us to grasp, may be the difference between connectivity and no connectivity. And you got to remember that we don't want to make people have to choose between connectivity and prescription drugs, because they may need that connectivity to connect to their healthcare.
Right.
So why would it? The company that administers the program at the federal level is not the most efficient organization known in America, but and it drives us nuts sometimes. But why would it? It's a direct service, direct benefit to our customers. It helps keep people connected, and that's what we're doing.
Thank you. And if I could ask a follow-up question. So you said subscriptions have increased with the Alabama student program that was available. Have these affordable connectivity programs changed the way you've engaged your community, engaged your customer base?
Well, it has. It has. But for heaven's sake, I want to finish the answer to the question without telling you how important what you do is. Yes, it has. I mean, we're trying to communicate with people every way we possibly can to help them understand that this is a program. It's available to you. It's there. Use it. Let me tell you why what you're doing today is important. This is available, if I had to guess, and I'm not really guessing, I kind of know this, at least 50% of our customer base is eligible for this. Less than a half of 1%. That's subscribed.
Wow.
At least 50% of the customer base. So, now, sad news, public policy note here, if everybody eligible for this in America subscribed to it, there's not enough money to fund it. But that's a public policy legislative issue. But at the local level, and that's with a marketing and public relation and customer outreach organization that's trying its best to get people to less than a half of 1%.
Well, Mikey, tell us a little. You've been enrolling people now for months. Tell us a little bit about that process. What is it like to get someone to enroll in ACP?
To piggyback off what he said, I think the first thing is getting their trust. Getting their trust, making sure they understand the program, and also understand that there's a need for them to enroll. I think a lot of people are just afraid of scams and other things that might come along with personal information. But the step-by-step process is about 15 minutes online. It's very simple. Use somebody's last 4 digits of their social security number, or they send a copy of their ID. Once this goes through the system, function to the next screen, check with their government qualification, maybe if they're receive government assistance or whatever it may be. You get an activation ID, call your internet service provider, and they take that activation ID and use it as a coupon code, and that takes $30 off of your internet bill and access a voucher.
So it's a conversation with folks.
It's a conversation, folks. And I think the conversation starts with someone you trust.
Okay. So, and is it a long process?
Like I said, 15 minutes from start to finish.
So, we have partner organizations like SETAAAD that have been very involved in. They are our trusted community partners. They are our anchor institutions. And so they already have the trust that you're talking about, Mikey. So Janet, tell us what's at stake here. What is it when an older adult gets connected to the internet? What kind of doors are open for them? Why? Give us the warm, pleasant story.
Actually, it's been life-changing in more than one case. Several people have been brought to tears because they could Zoom with their grandchild that was in the Navy, and they hadn't seen that person in a couple of years. It helps with online paying of bills. They can now be much, much more independent. They can be much more savvy. They're learning new things. They have a new online community within their church, within Facebook, within even the group that they've learned with the class and everything. And so there's been a real camaraderie, which was really needed essentially needed during the pandemic. And I just want you to know how important these classes were. People were coming, even when the senior centers were closed, for any other service, practically, except for these classes. We even in Sequatchie, I was there because it was a really crazy day with bad weather and everything. People even showed up in very inclement weather because they were like, this is so important. So it opened new worlds to them. It even opened to telehealth, so they wouldn't have to drive, across the mountain or across the ridge or so to their doctor's appointment or to a different county or so. So they were able to access services, essential services, online once they had the tools and the access and connectivity. So it's been a real game changer, life changer, and it's actually helped them to feel more hopeful. Just to see the potential that's been kind of laid dormant in their lives for so long, where they were accustomed to being socially isolated. And now they're realizing that those barriers can be removed through the technology, the training they've had, and the device and connectivity. So it's just been incredibly humbling to be part of this process. And I feel really thankful to be here, but also to be collaborating with partners, not only with the Enterprise Center, Tech Goes Home, the senior centers, and other valuable community resources and partners that we've developed through this process.
There's plenty more warm fuzzy stories where those come from. We have a little bit more time, but I did want to, because we do need our community partners to partner with our local internet service providers, to partner with organizations whose mission is expressly internet connectivity, eliminating the digital divide. Our community anchor institutions need to find a way to integrate themselves in the digital equity mission in order for more community members to be able to take advantage of the Affordable Connectivity Program. So, Fred, how can our community members, our community partners work directly with a local internet service provider to get more people connected to resources like ACP?
And can I also expand that to the importance of digital literacy?
Absolutely.
As I said, by the way, I'm a little bit of a fanatic. The percentage that I gave you, you can calculate that a whole bunch of different ways, but in the effort of truth, fairness, depending on how you measure it, a half a percent and maybe 5%, depending on what you want to count as eligibility. And we're doing everything we can, So that tells you there's a need for other partners to come to the table. If you are a truly community-minded ISP, as is FTC, and I'm very fortunate to work for people that let us be that kind of person, we are looking for partners. Nothing makes us happier than for someone to come to us, a senior center, any organization, and say, we help us. And I promise you, we're going to do everything we can to help educate people, both as to the program, the benefits that are available financially, but also the importance of basic levels of digital literacy. And if I got a second, I've got to speak to that. Give you a quick view from the real world of providing broadband in a market that has rapidly expanded. I'm talking about the people, the sophisticated at-home users, our businesses, our tech-savvy people. I'm talking about senior citizens, our people who are perhaps of lesser education, maybe they finish high school, and suddenly have to connect. In our world, it's almost as if the toaster quits working, you call and blame the power company. We all understand what the internet is, but for a growing number of our customers, the internet is the Wi-Fi connection in their home. And they have no concept of why their iPad doesn't work when they leave their house. Literally. I've seen that with my aging mother-in-law. But yet, once people get connected, the danger of separating them from that connection gets all more. And again, I'm not picking on my aging mother-in-law. She's a dear. But she will spaz out when she gets in my car and realizes that she can't communicate with one of her sisters on Facebook. And I have to continually explain to her, you're not connected to the internet. You don't have a cellular device. Well, what's a cellular device? So we absolutely must do everything that we can to help educate people to the basics of how the technology works, what its limitations are, and yes, we must aggressively try to educate consumers on the dangers of the digital marketplace. Because trust me when I tell you, you wouldn't believe what a small ISP like us spends on protecting our networks and our customers from the bad guys who are targeting them simply because they are not literate in technology sufficiently to avoid those barriers. So it's a nice way of saying, you come to us, we're going to help you any way we can, in any form, any opinion, because it's in everybody's best interest to do that. Quite frankly, if you encounter an ISP who isn't willing to do that, you ought to put pressure on them every way you can to see if they can step up.
Certainly, and Tech Goes Home in the Enterprise Center, we work with all different kinds of community partners, schools, libraries, of course, anyone offering social services. That's sitting down with folks, having those kinds of conversations about income and how to prioritize access to resources with a limited income. Because there does need to be a conversation about, well, why prioritize the internet when you have a fixed income or limited income? But then that conversation and that relationship is able to be fostered for ongoing conversation, like how do you keep yourself safe online? Good digital citizenship. Here are the community classes you can get into to teach you how to take advantage of the internet. So there are so many different kinds of community partners that can be brought into this work. Anyone that has a touch point with people looking for resources in your community, and really any kind of resource, because your next thing is like, go online, you can read about it. Well, I don't have internet. So, but Mikey, tell them about some of the resources that we have available to help bring more organizations and more community partners into this work.
We have a lot of online resources, but right now we're working a trainer model where we offer training for other organizations and nonprofits to take what we have learned about ACP, enrolling people into affordable internet options, take what we've learned and make it work for their own client base. Because as he stated, and she stated, we all have gained the trust of our own client point. So now it's time to figure out how do we get the clients to understand, embrace the ACP program and also other affordable connectivity options. So I think linking with us and learning how to take our model and make it work for yourself, put your own twist on it for your client base would definitely be a great suggestion to start with, and also utilizing our online resources as well.
And please access Chapman, Shannon to get our contact information if you would like to be trained, if you'd like your organization, your staff members to be trained in how to enroll folks in the ACP program, and how to have that initial conversation about what is the internet, break down some of those kind of abstract concepts, and start to help people think about what they can do with the internet at home. So please do reach out to us at Tech Goes Home to begin those conversations and then to get the training for your organization. But with that, I'm going to turn it back over to our hosts here, and thank you for your time, and hopefully we'll hear from you.
Question, please.
What other programs are you seeing from other service providers as far as low income assistant programs? Are you seeing other service providers offering additional low income assistant programs?
Oh yes, you have back in Chattanooga we have HCS Ed Connect, which is our municipal broadband system. EPB provides free internet service for any student that's in a Hamilton County school or attends Hamilton County School, and those households get that zero cost. Even if they owe a bill or if they never had internet, they can sign up and take advantage of that. We also have, well, we don't have it, but Xfinity offers a discounted price. It's called Xfinity.
They each have their own.
Yeah, it's a different name, but it's a discounted service to where we also help people understand if they want to take that option versus, because a lot of people have a certain broadband that they have in their household, and when we offer the free internet option, they're like, well, we have 5 connected devices. I think that'll pull from that megabyte, so we need more. So they'll go to Xfinity and get that discounted version, which I also mentioned, supplemental, make it HCP supplemental. It was a story where one girl at my church, she, through her job, got discounted service from Xfinity, but I provided her with the ACP route, and she took her bill from $9.99 to $0. So for her, it became supplemental versus a need to connect to the internet. So yeah, I do believe, and I do see other internet providers joining ACP.
That include the hooked up as well?
Yes.
That Hamilton County program, is that funded through EPB or was that privately funded in order to help the schools?
Do you want me to take that one? I help coordinate that program. So we started that before there were any federal resources available to us. So there was a bit of bootstrapping. That is some public funding from both the city and the county to stand that up, as well as private collection of foundations, a corporate partner through Blue Cross Blue Shield, some individual donors. We ended up getting some CARES dollars to put into that to work around the more restrictive laws in Tennessee to provide that. We needed to stand up the infrastructure so that we could make that continuing cost affordable for the school district to continue paying those ongoing bills. You know, we started with this 10-year commitment, but we pulled together a lot of community-oriented funding sources so that we could take the cost off of families. And we've got about 16,000 students enrolled in that program now.
Which means 16,000 households.
It is 9,000 households. There are a couple, and that is I will say, we know it's an undercount. We don't have every sibling perfectly matched, et cetera, but we use that baseline. And I would encourage this as you think about local solutions, rather than designing for the thought that maybe one person who doesn't deserve this ends up getting their extra back. How do you make sure nobody gets missed in the process? How do you reach that most disconnected individual? And that's been the idea behind EdConnect from the very beginning. How do we get the person who wouldn't be able to access this through all the normal ways, who has something else in their way? How do we make sure they don't get dropped off?
All students or just qualified students? All students. They don't have to qualify for free and reduced lunch or?
So that's there are a handful of those. We also used CEP schools. So if it is 100% school, it works out at about 65 to 70% of the district is eligible for the program. And then there is some discretion at the school level. If we know that the circumstances of a family, because they chose not to sign up, we get that in schools where folks don't want to say yes. But we know from, our building level expert that this is a family who needs it. We're able to do something there, particularly, families who are housing insecure, right? How do we provide support for them? A hotspot, something like that. We built flexibility into it as well, knowing that every case is individual.
She had a question.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. I'm curious now, was it tied to residents at all or just to the student? Did it matter if they owned the home or? It doesn't. Okay.
It doesn't because, yeah.
And then for the $30, can benefits be stacked? Is there low income internet already that's offered through ISPs? And then can that benefit be stacked on that? And it's the same service basically, or is there difference in the service?
The majority of low income programs will be at a reduced, some version of a reduced level of service. A majority.
I understand the importance of affordability for internet access. But one problem that I've seen in parts of the country is the lack of infrastructure. Principally, that's the roadmap of the Great Depression. The country as a whole made a public policy decision that it was going to provide electricity as a necessary utility to everybody because it wasn't profitable, except densely populated cities. What are we doing about that so that everybody in this country knows whether we live in downtown Chattanooga or in the rural hinterlands can have access to broadband?
Short answer is that primarily driven by federal dollars, but more focused now on letting states administer those federal dollars. The current commitment, both current ARPA funding as well as Infrastructure and Jobs Protection Act, is unprecedented in the history of the nation. The amount of cash that is actually flowing and that will flow for the physical expansion of the access peaks, primarily last mile, is unprecedented. In both real and nominal dollars, it dwarfs the commitment of the loan programs of the 30s and 40s for rural electrification. So the recognition is there, okay? So we're seeing historic levels that will make a significant dent in the portions of the U.S. that are not presently served by robust terrestrial networks. The catch is, and this is one of those public policy matters that is often difficult to articulate, but you can fund 100% of the capital cost of a broadband network. In most areas where that would be necessary, the operating and maintenance costs will still drive a residential retail rate sufficient to still warrant assistance. And the affordability question, the accessibility question, physical access to facilities, is largely a rural American problem. Approximately 60% of the land mass, less than 20% of the population. The affordability question is without borders. That's as much an urban issue as it is a rural issue. So historic levels of funding, the largest commitment ever made to a public infrastructure, other than maybe highway, in the history of the nation, both real and nominal dollars. But that is not going to fully address 100% of the affordability.
I wish I could travel everywhere with Fred.
Like I said, some aspects of aging are pleasant.
Casey, we had one other question on Zoom. Pulled it up here. Carol Roberts with Whitfield County was asking if this program needs to run through the county somehow, or will it only be between the consumer and the internet provider? We may have sort of answered that in context, but just to throw that back out there.
In context, the actual administration of the ACP requires a direct qualified relationship between the service provider and the Universal Service Administrative Company, which is the administrative arm of the FCC.
And so that is, to just add to that, that means when you as like or other organizations in your community commit to helping get folks connected, that's what you're committing to, is helping them walk through that process. It's not having to fiscally manage anything. It really is just having the 15-minute conversations that Mikey talked about. It is a low lift to start getting folks connected to this program.
Well, thank you all. I'll turn it back over to.
Thank you all so much.